Hey everybody, my name is Jack Allen Willard. Welcome to our video, The Top Things Crazy Drivers Do. Have you noticed it's gotten worse than it has ever been? If you've been around for a long time like I have, I started driving in 1972 when I had a Plymouth Valiant, a powder blue Plymouth Valiant. It was a standard with the shift in the column. And beautiful car, though. It ran for a long time, loved it. And man, there's nothing like when you're 16 years old, getting in your car for the first time by yourself and driving away. Just a wonderful thing. But since then, a lot of things have changed, including driver habits. And right now, as I talk to you, gas prices are through the roof. That's a whole other area we're not going to get into in this video because we're going to talk about those crazy things that people do. The behavior is off the charts. I'm sure you've noticed this too. And this is certainly a video where I want you to participate. I want you to leave your comments here at the video. You can even tell me your story privately on email. My email is jackthefairguy, that's Fair, jackthefairguy at gmail.com. But I would like to have another video where we share your stories, where I comment on what you comment on, and maybe answer a question if I'm able to do so, or maybe someone else can answer your question. But I'd love to hear your experiences because the 10 things that I have here that I've written down are not the whole list by any means. I'd love to know what you've been through on the road. And of course, there can be tragedy for no reason, for stupid reasons. We have a scanner in the house, a fire scanner, not a police scanner. They used to have both, but it's a fire scanner. And how many times do they have to report to MVA because the fire department has to go in case there's a need to extricate someone from a vehicle, or if the car may be on fire, or both, so they have to respond. Happens every day almost. And I live in a small city, but people just do crazy stupid things. And now we're dealing with the young kids, the X generation, and the millennials aren't any better. And it's just the things that you see and the things that you experience. You really have to be what Paul Newman talked about when he was alive, a defensive driver. You have to have a plan. What am I going to do if they do that? You can't see someone coming from across the highway and just let them hit you. You've got to try to you've got a few seconds to think about what you could do to avoid that. And some people just freeze and just let them hit them head on. And sometimes there's a way to easily avoid that. Sometimes it's better to get clipped in the rear than it is to be hit head on, right? So I'm going to give you the top 10 things. We'll start with number 10 and then work to my perception of the worst. And again, I would love to hear your comments to this video. Subscribe if you like it, share it, and know that on this channel, the Virtual Church of the Disillusioned, there's many great videos. If you like Elvis Presley, we have many videos here about this man out in Benton, Arkansas, who looks a whole lot like him. Thousands of people respond to these videos. I probably had well over 100,000 hits on the topic of Bob Joyce, who's out in Benton, Arkansas, and the relationship to Elvis. So check that out. We have, if you know anyone who has heart failure, there's a video, Low Ejection Fraction Cured. It'll be a great encouragement to them. If they have low ejection fraction, which deals with the blood pump, get them to watch that video, all right? And also, there's a wide variety of topics here, including spiritual issues as well. And we talk about this fascinating guy from Chicago. Well, he's really from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Carlton Pearson, who was a big time TV preacher who walked away from God. Check out The Curious Case of Carlton Pearson. That video, especially the first one, got over 4,000 hits. So he's a fascinating topic. He really is. Here we go with the top 10 things crazy drivers do. The top 10 things crazy drivers do. Number 10, more than ever before. I know you've noticed this. Drivers pull out in front of you forcing you to brake to not hit them. I can't believe it. Obviously, if it's a real hard to get out of road, no traffic light, you can kind of understand when someone pulls out in front of you, but not right out in front of you. You know, that's just crazy. If you're relying on someone to brake to not hit you, because that's what it's going to take, there's just not enough space, then you're nuts when you pull out in front of them. And it often means wrecked cars, you know, dents and bangs and what have you, and people getting hurt. But never have I noticed before, and this is our number 10 thing that crazy drivers do more than ever in 2022 as I'm recording this. They pull right out in front of you. I saw it twice today. And the people don't beep or anything. You got to let them know. But of course, that can lead to road rage. They can turn the car around in the times we live in and shoot you. You know, track you down and shoot you. You just never know. Road rage, even though I don't really talk about that in this video, can be off the charts. You have to be careful before you are middle fingering somebody because it can lead to a real problem. Number 9, of course, is tailgating. It's always been a thing. You know, the guy in the pickup truck, and not everybody in a pickup truck is like this, but there's a guy in a pickup truck. If you're behind him, it seems he's just going kind of slow, but you see him in your rear view mirror. He's way in the back, and before you know it, he's right on your proverbial ass. And I don't know how fast this guy wants you to go, but I have a feeling if you take it up to 70, and I'm talking like in a 40-mile-an-hour speed zone, he will stay right there with you. It still won't be good enough for him, and it can lead to terrible, terrible accidents. Number 8 is obviously when you have to make a turn, like into your driveway at your home, the driver behind you is not slowing down. He's staying right on your bumper. Forget about what some people love to do. They make it, they come to a complete stop and then they make the turn. Those are the kind of people with the kind of drivers behind them we have now that get rear-ended because there are drivers that just stick with you and they don't even swerve to the left to go around you sometimes. They're expecting you to just plow right into your driveway or wherever you're going to the street you're turning onto. They are reckless and they are impatient. It's like everybody's in a hurry now. You would think everybody was, a neurosurgeon going for emergency surgery, going to perform new surgery. Everybody is self-important now, and they're not that important at all half the time. And you really have to be careful. Pump those brakes, get their attention because they're often in a fog. So the number 8 thing that crazy drivers do more than ever these days is they don't slow down when you are trying to make a turn. Number 7 is simply no turn signals. A macho man doesn't make turn signals. Somebody with an attitude isn't going to use their turn signals. You should be paying attention. You ain't going to hit me. You hit me, it's going to be your fault. It's going to be your fault. Whether it be someone from the teen generation, oh my God. Scary, 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 scary. I was listening to this lady tell the story of how she plowed into the back of an ambulance. And all she could say was and she had a beautiful car and she wrecked the front of it and it was repairable, but it took she had no car for a while and she was saying, well, it's their fault for getting in my way. So no turn signals because, we don't have an attitude anymore of helping our brother out, doing the right thing. And, you know, I will comment when I talk about motorcyclists, I'll talk about police and how they have changed very much, especially since uh, uh, George Floyd and Derek Chauvin. There's been a change out there. So number 7, no turn signals. Number 6, distracted drivers. Right? Oh man, they even put signs up on the highway saying "Tech stop, 10 minutes. It can wait. It can wait." Distracted drivers, they're texting, sometimes at lights. There's 6 cars waiting to go. The light is green, and they're just sitting there texting away. And sometimes they got to finish it off before they move. And again, if you start beeping, you could find yourself with them getting out of the car because they're always right and you're always wrong. So distracted drivers, they can cause terrible accidents. They can be distracted while they're driving, texting while driving, doing this and doing that, chatting on their cell phone with it in their hand in some cases. Number 6, distracted drivers causing terrible accidents out there in 2022. Number 5 is passing illegally. They are just in too big of a hurry, so they're going to pass on a sometimes on a small road, double lines, whatever. Sometimes they see that there's oncoming traffic coming, and they figure they got enough time to make it. And sometimes it has happened to me where I had to pull off to the right side of the road because they didn't have enough time. That has happened to me. Um, now, number 4 is motorcycle wackos. There's some wonderful professional riders riding motorcycles, but I'm sure this is true where you live. Every summer, every spring, summer into the fall, it's like here comes the death toll, and you start hearing about. You don't read them in the newspaper anymore. You see them. You see them on wherever you get your local news, if you can even get local news anymore. You see terrible, terrible accidents on motorcycles. Nobody doesn't have a story. I remember church family, husband and wife, professional riders. They had like 4 kids. The youngest was very clingy to mommy. And they're going to go up to Lake George for just a couple of days. And the kids are going to stay with grandma and grandpa, and they get on the same motorcycle. They get on the same motorcycle. She's riding on the back, he's driving. Professional rider gets all the way to Lake George. Coming down, there's a hill that leads into Lake George. If you've ever been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know how fast he was going. I don't know what happened. He should have been able to handle this, but he lost control, slammed into a truck, both dead right there on the road. Now, what are you going to tell that little kid? Police officer, good looking man with a good looking family. I had met him. He's just riding down the road in his motorcycle. He's not on duty. He's riding down, and some 18-year-old pulls out with the car. He hits him. The officer's dead. He's like 25 years old, had his whole life ahead of him. And this happens over and over again. But there are motorcyclists, and the kids are like this. They are hell on wheels. They will go 50, 60 miles in a 30. They don't have a muffler. You can hear them 2 miles up the road, and they know they're not going to be chased by police, because if the police try to chase them, they're probably not going to get them, and they can lead to them killing the motorcyclist, or them going right into an intersection and hitting another car, maybe hitting a pedestrian. So they don't chase. The motorcyclists know that, but every year there's a death toll of horrible deaths. You have no protection, obviously, and I am so glad that neither of my adult children ride a motorcycle. That's all I can say about that. Horrible deaths every year. Terrible, gruesome things. Um, Number 3, of the top 10 things crazy drivers do, and this is just my top 10, you may have your own. They run lights, of course. This generation that's coming up now, they're busy. They got to get back to their video games at home. They got to get back to Facebook and what have you. They can't be on the road. They're important. They gotta get to where they're going. So they will run the light. It happens over and over again. Most times they get away with it. We've all run lights. I have to be honest and say that I have. I'm trying to hit the yellow, obviously, and the thing that's so unfair is one yellow light will be forever, and the next will be a green, red. There's just a little speck of yellow time. That's all, and that's nonsense. That shouldn't be. All lights should be pretty much, the yellow light should be for a certain uniform time. I think. So running lights, and it's just part of what goes on in this world of entitlement right now, and thinking you're immortal when they sometimes find out that they're not, very quickly and agonizingly. And then, of course, number two, we have driving buzzed, driving drunk, and driving stoned. Marijuana is being decriminalized or is legal now, and it's very hard to monitor that because people get behind the wheel. Sometimes they're smoking it in the car, and I don't see a lot of cops. I have driven long distances and not seen one on Route 84 where I live near, for example. I've gone long distances and not seen cops, and I live on a fairly busy street. And they put up those signs, that tell you how fast you're going, and it say slow down, everything, and worthless, worthless. And then sometimes we have a Korean restaurant up the road, and it'll be midnight, and they'll sit there so visible with their lights blasting, their headlights. You can see them for a mile and a half away as you're coming up the road. They got plenty of time to slow down and say, oh, there's a cop. Okay, slow down. They don't want to catch people anymore. I think it's gotten worse since Derek Chauvin and what have you. Cops don't go out, and I understand this, just one at a time anymore. You see sometimes 3 or 4 patrol cars for a simple stop. They don't want to be shot. They want to go home at the end of the night. They don't know what's going to happen out there. It's got to be less tickets being handed out. And what do? They give a ticket to the person going to church on Sunday, going 7 miles over the speed limit or something like that. But they're not as aggressive as they used to be. There's strength in numbers, and if they don't have numbers, they don't want to. Some 5 foot one woman with a ponytail, she wants to pull someone over by herself. No. No, there's a fear out there because they know that there's a hatred towards police more than ever now, and there are always going to be bad apples, and there's quite a few bad apples, but there's some wonderful officers, and you're going to want to call them someday when you need them. You're going to want to call them, and they deserve our respect. If you don't want something bad to happen at a traffic accident, you just obey what the officer tells you to do. If you have a beef, you file your complaint later, but you don't do it there on the road. But we have a generation coming up that has no respect for anything, nothing, no respect for anything holy, no respect for anything. They want to turn our government into a communist government, their form of communist government. They don't realize it's going to bite them in the butt. They don't realize that. And so, that's what you have to deal with. People go to a bar and maybe they have 1 or 2 drinks. Heck, I've gone to our Mexican restaurant here and had a nice meal, and I have one margarita. But they like to put quite a bit of tequila in there. I don't like a strong drink. I hate beer, but I like to have what I call ladies' drinks. If there's not an umbrella, I don't feel right. A little umbrella. But you have 1 or 2 drinks. I don't know what the limit is before I'm over the limit. I don't know what's in my system. I don't have a measuring device, but I can tell when I start to feel a little buzzed. And I've had to tell my lady, well, one of us can drink, but the other can't. Maybe a sip, but we can't. Yeah, can't each have a drink because we may end up leaving the car here and taking a taxi home, because that's a $10,000 experience when you are pulled over and you are either DUI or DWI. It's $10,000, lawyer fees and everything. You're ostracized like you're the town drunk. It's just you're arrested. You're put in jail for a while. Um, it's a horrible experience, and people think less of you when you just had really 1 or 2 drinks. So I like to be in a place where I know I don't have to drive, and then I'll have a couple of drinks. So I'm not a big drinker, but yeah, and stoned. You can't be smoking a joint and then getting behind the wheel, but that's happening more than ever now. Happening more than ever. And I'm not against recreational use of marijuana. I'm certainly not against it for people that use it for pain issues, but you can't be driving a vehicle when you do it. You can't be, and they are. And of course, the number one thing, I don't have to tell you what number one is on the top things crazy drivers do. More than ever in 2022, they speed. And I'll tell you, it's not 5 miles over the speed limit, 10 miles over the speed limit, 30 miles over the speed limit. I'm talking in residential areas, 20, 30 miles an hour, especially if there's an open stretch of road. They will do that, and it seems more and more they never get caught. It just seems like a lack of police presence. Many police uh, departments have lost many of their officers. They've retired. They want nothing more to do with the job after all they've seen happen. New York City is losing, I think, a third of their police force. We've got horrible DAs that send the criminals out, cash and release. Um, we have horrible governors and mayors. It's just, we are in a world that I read about it, that these days would come. I didn't expect it necessarily to be in the middle of it, but we are in what I call the last days, and part of that is craziness on the road. So those are the top 10 crazy things. Number 10, more than ever, you see drivers pulling out in front of you. Number 9 is tailgating. Number 8 is not slowing down when you are going when the person behind you doesn't slow down when you are trying to turn. No turn signals is number 7. Number 6, distracted drivers texting at lights and even while driving and doing other things. Number 5 is passing illegally on streets where either double line or no line at all because it's residential and there's oncoming traffic. Motorcycle wackos out there. Number 4, that leads to deaths, horrible deaths. Number 3 is running lights. Number 2 is driving buzzed, drunk, or stoned. And number 1 is speeding. I didn't used to be for those speed cameras, that you never see a cop. They just they take a ticket of your license plate. They've used them in Texas and other places, and they don't use them so much anymore because they got a lot of pushback on them, and they're very expensive per camera. But I think now I'm for them because the X generation, the XYZ, I guess Z is too young to drive, right? The millennials and what have you, and old people sometimes too that are not that good at driving anymore. People in pickup trucks, that's a big thing I see. Not all of the drivers, but some. It's just a madness out there. Now you must have your own story and things that are not on my top 10 list. And I'd love you to leave a comment here, subscribe, like the video, tell your friends about it, and check out the other videos at the Virtual Church of the Disillusioned. My name is Jack Allen Willard, and I thank you for watching.